So this is my horror story about why I will never use Tinder, Bumble, or any other dating app ever again. It all started a few weeks after a brutal breakup that left me feeling pretty down. I figured a rebound might help me get over it, so I downloaded Bumble and started swiping. And it wasn't long before I matched with this ridiculously good-looking girl. Like, out of my league type of good-looking. Her name was Jess. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, and one of those smiles that makes you forget whatever you were thinking about. I didn't even expect her to swipe right on me, but when she did, I was stoked. We chatted for a couple of days, nothing too crazy, just the usual, what do you do and where are you from? Then she asked me if I wanted to come over. Honestly, I had a little hesitation. She seemed cool, but it was all moving pretty fast. And then there was the weird part. She insisted I come over on a specific day at exactly 2:30 p.m. I'm not one to schedule hookups like a dentist appointment, but she was so hot that I just brushed off that odd detail. Plus, it was the middle of the day on a Big Ten campus. We were practically surrounded by thousands of people. What was the worst that could happen? So fast forward to that day. I show up at her apartment, which is a bit off campus, but still in an area where lots of students live. I assumed she had a roommate or something, but it seemed pretty quiet when I got there. She let me in, and we went straight to her bedroom. No small talk, no Netflix, just straight to it. Not that I was complaining. About a half an hour in, we're busy, and I hear the front door slam. Hard. I figured it might be her roommate, but then I heard a guy shouting. Not in English either, like angry yelling in some language that I did not understand. My heart immediately sank, and I froze. I remember looking at Jess, who did not even seem surprised. She got up, completely unbothered, and started yelling back in the same language. That's when it hit me. I wasn't her rebound. I was a pawn in whatever messed up revenge plot she had cooked up. The guy, her husband, apparently, burst into the room. He was a big dude too, and the second he saw me, he went absolutely ballistic. He didn't touch me, thank God, but he was screaming so much that I thought my ears were going to bleed. Jess, meanwhile, was standing there in her underwear, yelling right back at him. It was like they'd done this a million times. I was stuck in the middle, no clue what the hell they were even saying. I just grabbed my clothes off the floor, pulled them on as fast as I could, and bolted for the door. The whole thing was a blur. I barely even remember leaving the apartment. I just remember sprinting down the stairs, half expecting the dude to come after me. And I didn't stop running until I was halfway back to campus. Looking back, I have no idea if she set me up, or if her husband just happened to come home at the worst possible time. But given how specific she was about the time, I have a feeling it wasn't a coincidence. Either way, it was the most insane thing that's ever happened to me. The moral of the story: just talk to the cute girl at the coffee shop. Trust me, it's way less of a gamble than these apps. Never again. I met this guy on a dating app. We did not have much in common. Different tastes in music, movies, and basically everything else. But he seemed nice enough, so I'd figured I'd give it a shot. We agreed to meet up at a bar for a casual drink. When I got there, he had already pounded 2 pitchers of beer. At first, I thought maybe he was nervous and overdid it. But the weird thing was, he didn't even seem buzzed. I watched him talk, joke, and laugh without slurring his words or stumbling. Totally sober, from what I could tell. We talked for a while, and honestly the conversation was okay. He wasn't rude or anything, but I wasn't feeling much of a connection. After about an hour, I started to think maybe it was time to cut the night short. But when I mentioned heading home, he convinced me to go to another bar for just one more drink. It was only 8 p.m., and I did not want to seem rude, so I agreed. We sat down at the bar at the next place, and things got a little weird. There was this couple next to us, making out like they were the only two people in the room. I didn't think much of it, but he leaned in and asked, "What do you think people would do if we started making out right now?" I tried to laugh it off, making some dumb joke about how no one would care. But he did not drop it. He kept insisting, saying we should do it, like it was some sort of experiment. I laughed nervously, but I knew I had to shut this down. I told him it wasn't a good idea, and excused myself to the restroom, hoping he would get the hint. When I came back, there was a shot waiting for me. Just for me, none for him. He pushed it towards me, telling me I should drink it. I immediately felt uneasy. I told him I wasn't in the mood for a shot, but he got really upset. He slammed his hands down on the bar and said, "I'm ready to go." It was like flipping a switch. He went from being overly pushy to weirdly angry in seconds. At this point, I realized just how much he had to drink. In total, it was 2 pitchers of beer, 4 margaritas, and 2 pints of beer. But here's the thing, he still did not seem drunk at all. No slurring, no swaying, nothing. It freaked me out. I didn't want to be around him anymore, but I also didn't want him driving in that condition. I asked if he thought driving was a good idea, given how much alcohol was in his system. He got super defensive and snapped. "I'm fine, I told you, I'm ready to go." At that point, I didn't care if he drove or not. I just wanted out of there. We left the bar, and he stormed off in the opposite direction without saying a word. When I got home, I was still uneasy about the whole thing. So I texted him, mostly just to make sure he'd gotten home safely. It felt like the right thing to do, even though I knew I'd never see him again. His response? "I only date girls I fuck on the first date." Yeah, dodged a bullet with that one. I blocked his number right after that. But the whole thing still bothers me. The amount of alcohol he drank, and the fact that he didn't show a single sign of being drunk. It just didn't add up. I matched with this guy on Tinder a few weeks ago. He seemed normal, maybe even cute. We had a few good conversations, nothing deep, just surface level, get to know you kind of stuff. He lived about 25 minutes from me, and we agreed to meet at the beach pier halfway between us. It felt casual enough, and I didn't think much of it. I got to the pier early, wanting to scope out the area, maybe grab a coffee before meeting him. A few minutes before we were supposed to meet, he texted me saying that he couldn't make it. His license has been revoked, and he said the pier was too far of a walk for him. A red flag, right? I know. I should have just left then and there. But I was already out, dressed up, and I didn't want to waste my evening. So stupidly, I agreed to meet him closer to his place at a pizza joint that he suggested. I got to the pizza place and waited outside. When I saw him, I immediately regretted it. The pictures on his profile had to have been at least 3 to 5 years old. He did not even look like the same person, more of like a Dollar Tree rundown version of himself. His hair was greasy, like he hadn't showered in days. His clothes were a mess too, with holes in his shirt and dirty jeans. Everything about him screamed, "I don't care." But I didn't want to be rude. I awkwardly gave him a side hug and suggested we go inside and grab a table. That's when he said, "Oh no, we're not getting pizza. Let's go to the park instead." Another red flag. Who says no to pizza? But again, instead of trusting my gut and leaving, I just nodded along and followed him to the park. When we got to a bench, I went to sit down, but he pulled me onto his lap. And I mean pulled me, like squeezing me into him, and said, "God, baby girl, you are so fucking cute." I was completely grossed out. I tried to awkwardly scoot off his lap and get some distance between us. I started talking, just trying to keep things normal, but it was like he wasn't even listening. Instead, he pulled out his phone and started texting someone, not even a glance at me. I sat there for a few minutes, feeling more uncomfortable by the second. Out of nowhere, he interrupted me and said, "Have you smoked? My friend's a plug. We could go back to my place for a bowl." I declined. Weed wasn't my thing, and honestly, the idea of going to his place sounded like the worst idea ever. But he wouldn't drop it. "Oh, come on, baby girl. My place is just right up there. We could have some fun, too." Fun? With this guy? Absolutely not. I declined again, trying to make it clear I wasn't interested in anything. Then, out of nowhere, he grabbed my face and pulled me in close and whispered, "You're so innocent." Before I could process what he said, he licked my face. Yes, licked my face. From my chin all the way up to my ear. A full, broad-tongued lick. I sat there in shock for a few seconds, trying to figure out if that really just happened. It was so gross and so weird that my brain just froze. Meanwhile, he just kept rambling on about weed and how we could go back to his place. I finally snapped out of it and realized I need to get out of there. So I did the first thing that came to my mind. I faked an urgent phone call. I grabbed my phone. It said something like, "Oh shit, I gotta go," and stood up. He barely even reacted, just waved me off, still glued to his phone. I sped walked back to my car, got in and locked the doors. I sat there for a minute, just trying to process how badly I had ignored every red flag from the moment he texted me. Lesson learned. Always trust your gut. If someone's off from the start, don't ignore it. That was hands down the worst Tinder date of my life. This actually isn't my story, but it's my brother's. He still lives at home with my mom, and trust me, I wish this wasn't real because it's one of the creepiest things I've ever heard. So, a few months ago, my brother met this girl on Tinder. I'll call her Katie. They hit it off, or at least that's what he thought. He took her out on a couple of dates, and things seemed normal. He ended up bringing her home one night after a date. You know, the usual hookup stuff, and that was it. Or so we thought. A few weeks later, my mom goes out to the backyard. We have this old camper back there, basically falling apart. We haven't used it in years, and it's mostly just for storage. But anyway, she goes out there to get something, and notices that the door to the camper is slightly open. Weird, because she's pretty sure she locked it last time she was out there. She goes inside and immediately sees a bunch of random stuff scattered around. There's a pile of clothes, some empty cans, and the weirdest part of all, a pair of fake Ugg boots. My mom is understandably freaked out. She has no idea what's going on, but assumes someone has been squatting in there. So she comes back into the house and tells my brother. They go out there to take a look, and as soon as my brother sees the boots and the clothes, his face goes pale. He recognizes that stuff. Turns out, it all belonged to Katie, the girl he had brought home weeks ago. He immediately starts freaking out, saying he hasn't heard from her in weeks and has no clue how her stuff ended up in the camper. And it gets even weirder, because there's this small box in there filled with syringes, a couple of half-empty pill bottles, and just random junk like lighters and wrappers. And at this point, my mom is done. She calls the cops, because obviously something shady is going on. They show up, take a look around, and while they're doing their thing, they run Katie's information and name. And here's where it gets messed up. Turns out, she has a warrant out for her arrest. Some kind of drug-related charge. The cops were able to track her down, and from what we know, she had been sneaking into the camper at night after my brother brought her home. She'd sleep there, do drugs, then disappear during the day without anyone knowing. My brother was completely clueless, thinking she had just ghosted him after their last date, when in reality, she had been living in our backyard the whole time. The part that freaks me out the most is how long this went on without anyone noticing. My brother had no idea. My mom had no idea. I live out of state, so I wasn't even there when it all went down. But just hearing about it made my skin crawl. She was in our backyard, doing God knows what for weeks. And after she was arrested, we found out she had a pretty serious drug habit and had been using random places to crash for a while. Apparently, she'd do this kind of thing pretty regularly. Meet someone, hook up, and then use them as a way to stay under the radar for a bit. She's still in jail now. My brother feels like an idiot for not realizing what was going on sooner, but honestly, who would expect something like that? It's not exactly something you prepare for when you meet someone on Tinder. You expect things to be casual, not for them to start secretly living in your backyard. Anyway, my mom ended up having the camper hauled off the property. She did not want anything to do with it anymore, and I can't really blame her. Alright, so this is going to sound crazy, but I swear it happened. I had just gotten out of a really bad breakup about 3 months ago. We were together for 2 years, and I thought it was serious, but things fell apart. Anyway, I wasn't really looking for anything serious after that, just trying to get back out there, so I downloaded Tinder. I figured, why not? After a few days of swiping, I matched with this girl named Maya. She seemed pretty cool. We had a lot in common, mostly stuff about movies, especially horror movies, which I'm a big fan of. We messaged for a bit, and she seemed normal, if not a little quirky. After a few days of talking, I suggested we hang out, and she was down. We agreed she'd come over to my place to watch some movies. I know, inviting someone over on the first meetup isn't the smartest, but I wasn't getting any weird vibes. So, the night comes and she shows up. She looks exactly like her pictures. A little shorter in person, maybe, but not catfishing or anything. We made small talk for a bit before I asked her if she wanted anything to drink. She asked for water, so I grabbed a couple of bottles from the fridge. While I was doing that, she asked if she could use the bathroom. I pointed for her down the hall, and she went. And here's where things started to get weird. As I'm waiting for her to come back, I start to hear these noises coming from the bathroom. Like, at first I thought maybe she was talking to herself or something, but then the noises started to sound like growls. I mean, actual animal-like growls. It was deep and loud enough that I could hear it from the living room. I froze, just listening. I mean, what do you even do in that situation? I thought maybe I was imagining it, so when she came back out, I asked her, "Hey, were you making noises in there?" She gave me this confused look and said, "What are you talking about? I wasn't making any noises." I didn't push it. I didn't want to make things awkward, but the whole thing just felt off. Anyway, we sit down and start watching Hereditary. About halfway through the movie, her phone goes off. She says it's her mom and that she needs to take it, so she steps into the kitchen to talk. Here's the next weird thing. I could hear her talking, but it wasn't in English. It wasn't even in a language that I recognized. She was talking fast, almost like she was arguing with whoever was on the other end, but it wasn't anything I could make sense of. I've got friends who speak different languages, but this was I don't even know how to describe it. It sounded ancient or something. When she comes back, I ask her, "Hey, what language were you speaking just now?" She looks at me, dead serious, and says, "What do you mean? I was speaking English. I only speak English." And at this point, I'm starting to get seriously freaked out, but again, I don't say anything. I just nod and try to get back into the movie. Finally, the movie ends, and she turns to me and asks, "Hey, do you have a Ouija board? We should totally try it out." Now, I've had enough weirdness for one night, and I'm not about to mess with the Ouija board. So I tell her, "Nah, I'm actually pretty tired. Maybe we can do it another time." She gives me this weird look, but doesn't argue. I walk her to the door, say goodbye, and she leaves. As soon as she's gone, I make sure to lock the doors and double check that all the windows are secured. But then, about 10 minutes later, I hear this noise outside. I look out my window, and she's still there, standing in the middle of the street. At first I think maybe she's just waiting for her Uber or something, but then she starts howling, literally howling up at the sky like a wolf or something. And at that point, I'm done. I grab my phone, block her on Tinder, and just stand there watching her until she eventually walks off into the dark. I have no idea what her deal was. Maybe she was on drugs. Maybe she was just crazy. All I know is that it was the creepiest Tinder date I've ever been on, and I'm never inviting someone to my place on a first date again. Hey, what's up guys? It's Spooky. If you've made it this far, congratulations, you survived. If you did not know, I have an Instagram. Follow me on there so we can connect. I also have a Patreon. On there, you'll have direct access to me and can see the upcoming videos, polls, and soon-to-be exclusive stories only shared on there. If that's something that interests you, please consider joining. That's all I have for you guys tonight. Stay spooky, and I'll see you in the next video.